Hello, I'm Paul Peterson. Today we're going to take a look at the very common but serious problem of falls and how they can be prevented. Dr. John Pinus from the Fall Prevention Center of Excellence at the University of Southern California's Andrus Gerontology Center recently visited us at the Department of Aging to talk about their work. And joining us in the studio will be Los Angeles Fire Department Battalion Chief Michael Thomas, who coordinates Remembering When, a fire and fall prevention program for older adults. Please stay tuned for Aging in LA. Each year, 1 in 3 older Americans falls, and 30% of those who fall require medical treatment. The Center for Disease Control reports that this treatment costs more than $19 billion each year. For older adults, falls and injuries from falls are a major threat to health, independence, and quality of life. Today, we'll find out how this issue is being addressed by professionals who are all too familiar with the serious problems that falls can cause. First, you'll meet Dr. John Pinus from the Fall Prevention Center of Excellence, which was established to provide leadership and expertise in developing sustainable fall prevention programs. Joining us in the studio is Fire Department Battalion Chief Michael Thomas, who will share with us the innovative community outreach program that he is spearheading locally. Michael, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
You do see a lot of this, don't you? Falls and fires with common causes underlying everything.
Unfortunately, yes. We respond to a lot of residential type calls with the Los Angeles Fire Department, and probably over 80% of our calls are EMS related, which are emergency medical related type calls, and a great majority of those, I would say probably thousands of those, are falls which occur every year.
Right, and first responders, they come across it, and I know I've talked to many EMS personnel, and we see these homes with the hazards right out there in front. Bad lighting, those slippery rugs that we all used to love so much.
Yeah, pretty common things that you wouldn't really think of, and that's the problem with accidents. They happen spontaneously. But we think if we can just get people to understand some of the hazards, they could be a lot safer in their homes.
Well, let's list some of the hazards. Now, I asked you before we got started, is smoking still a major cause behind residential fires?
Yes, unfortunately, smoking is the leading cause of fire fatalities in the residential environment.
See? And gosh, it just, you would think that the people would get that idea. You know, it's fire, folks. It's fire.
Yeah. Well, the good thing is there's been a great reduction in the use of cigarettes in the homes. But unfortunately, those that continue to use those things pose a hazard to others as well. Right.
Now, of course, smoke alarms and these new carbon monoxide alarms, very important for people. But folks forget to change the batteries.
Yeah, smoke alarms are very effective if they're properly maintained.
Right.
They have to work when there's an emergency.
Well, what is the recommendation? How often should I change? It's not just New Year's Eve, is it?
No. We recommend that you change you should check your smoke alarm every month. But in terms of changing the battery, that should be done every 6 months. And we suggest that you do it around the time of the change in terms of time.
Well, most of these things now are being hardwired into the home, correct?
Yeah.
Well, you go out and speak to a lot of senior groups and well, just groups in general.
Right.
Are folks attentive? I mean, are they surprised sometimes by the things you need to talk about, handrails and things like that?
I think when I talk about them, it kind of reigns pretty true in their minds.
Yeah.
But, you know, accidents happen spontaneously without warning. But we really think if people are mindful of some of the good habits, they can prevent a lot of accidents in their home.
Right. Well, now, we recently visited a seminar held at the Department of Aging's conference room, where our guest, Battalion Chief Michael Thomas, was lecturing senior citizens on safety issues. And here's a portion of that presentation where he talked about preventing falls.
We've gone through our 8 fire safety tips. Now we're going to talk about fall prevention. Same thing applies. If you look on the left side of the screen, these are rates per 100,000 folks. And on the horizontal axis, it shows you the age groups. And again, the leading groups for falls are seniors over the age of 65. And even though the statistics are older, it bears true every year, year after year, forever. Make sure that the exits and the floors are clear. No shoes, no towels, no mats, no newspapers. But these things pay great dividends. These little night lights, getting around at nighttime, having them centrally located throughout your house when you have to get up and use the bathroom and you can't see. These are great. I have these in my home. I mean, they light up the house. They're energy efficient. You don't have to turn lights on, but you have them centrally located. They can save your life, prevent falls. So this is something that you can facilitate keeping the path clear. In your bedroom, in your hallway, in your staircase, they're very good. They can be mounted easily, but they can keep you from falling. I saw some advertised on television that have suction on them that can actually install right on the, they work very well. The little designer mats inside the tubs and the showers that prevent you from slipping, those are very effective also. Mats. Throw rugs. If they have non-skid backing on them, like this, these things could be devastating if they're some type of slippery material. If you put them on there, it's like ice. It's like magic carpets. It can send you for a ride. So having the non-skid rubber backing is very important for mats. Very good fall prevention method. When you go down the stairs, make sure you utilize the handrail. This is important. And make sure that your stairs are well lit. Make sure that you make every step. This is something that firefighters have problems with. I mean, in fire situations, in high-rise fires, we don't use elevators. We go upstairs and we go downstairs because we don't use elevators in a fire situation. We've had people fall and hurt themselves during emergency situations because they don't hold on to the rails. They're carrying a lot of equipment. So this is something that you have to be very mindful of, using the safety rails. Comfortable shoes are important. Low heels, tennis shoes. I mean, they're probably the safest type of shoes and most comfortable. So they facilitate keeping your balance. I can't emphasize this more. Take your time. Whatever you do, you've earned it. You've had full lives. You continue to have full lives, but the big message we want to convey to seniors is that you take your time, even as something as simple as getting out of your chair, or before you take a walk, or before you go to bed. Take your time. You know, this is probably one of the biggest tips we can convey. You've earned it. And that's basically it. Those tips we feel will keep you alive in your home if you follow them, and they're very basic.
Wow, that was very interesting. Michael, tell me a little bit about this program called Remembering When. What is that? Remembering
When is a fall and fire prevention program sponsored by the National Fire Protection Association. Mm-hmm. They do a lot of work nationally in terms of fire and fall safety. The Los Angeles Fire Department has partnered with NFPA mm-hmm. in our community outreach and fire safety efforts, as well as fall prevention.
Right. So people can actually have an officer or someone come out and actually speak to their group, correct?
Well, I'm the officer for the Los Angeles Fire Department, but NFPA partners with fire departments and healthcare facilities all over the country. I was fortunate enough to go back and actually attend a urban fire safety conference, and I became part of the task force for the National Fire Protection Association. Wow. But we brought it to Los Angeles mm-hmm. because the local areas reflect the national problem as well.
Yeah, we're part of it, that's for sure.
Absolutely.
So you can go out and speak to civic groups, to major facilities where
well, it's primarily a train-the-trainer program. What we like to do is try to address caregivers, social workers, right. and they can go back and go to senior facilities and impart the information.
Right, and the core information of Remembering When is pretty much what your lecture was about?
Yes, fall and fire safety.
It's so much of this is common sense.
It is.
But the business of living sort of pushes us away from that sometimes.
It really does, and the big message we want to emphasize is that fires are actually the byproduct of human error.
Yeah.
People make mistakes. They know full well what they're doing in their homes, but they invariably make mistakes.
Right, and for our seniors, your words ring true. Take your time. You've earned it. Now it's time for a short break. Thanks to our guest in the first half of our program, Battalion Chief Michael Thomas of the Los Angeles Fire Department. When we return, we will talk with Dr. John Pinus, professor of gerontology at the University of Southern California. Please stay tuned for Aging in LA.
The Los Angeles Department of Water and Power wants to give you up to 7 free shade trees just for completing a workshop, either online or in your neighborhood. The Trees for a Green LA program offers LADWP residents over 40 different varieties of free shade trees. Trees benefit the environment, save energy, and add beauty. Get your trees by participating in an online workshop by logging on to ladwp.com/trees or call 1-800-GREEN-LA.
During a disaster, you and your neighbors become actual first responders to assist each other in your area. Law enforcement, paramedics, and firefighters may be unable to reach you for up to 72 hours. Ensure that you and your neighbors are prepared to assist each other. For more information, please contact the Department on Disability or the Emergency Management Department by calling the numbers on the screen or by dialing 311.
Our next guest is John Pinus, Ph.D., the UPS Foundation Professor of Gerontology, Policy, and Planning at the Andrus Gerontology Center, University of Southern California. He is also co-director of the Fall Prevention Center of Excellence. Earlier, Dr. Pinus visited us at the Department of Aging headquarters. We're so fortunate in Los Angeles to have an institution with a really well-known authority in this field, because this business about falls, especially for our seniors, can really lead to some critical health issues. And I want to take this time to thank you for your guidance and support in the issues with my 5 elderly ladies, because you turned out to be a prophet. You really did.
Well, I'm happy to help, and I'm sure that what we talk about today will help many more people as well.
Well, I really do hope so. That's the value of this program. Let's talk about numbers for a minute. How many of our senior citizens actually are injured in falls every year? Is this a gigantic number?
Well, 1/3 of older people fall each year. 1/3.
1/3.
20% of those result in hospitalizations. So it is a serious problem, especially if you break your hip or you fracture your arm. These are serious injuries, and about 11,000 to 12,000 people die of falls each year. So we're talking about something that has serious implications.
Right. And it's not just the inadvertent trip over the rug. Sometimes we have not sought medical attention for example, balance problems or the lack of strength in our legs, when help is available in those areas.
Absolutely. What we say falls are multifactorial. They are caused by issues related to underlying medical problems people might have, prescription drug problems.
Oh, that's right. Of course, that would confuse a person.
It can be caused by balance problems related to strength, especially lower body strength, and of course the environment. Those things sometimes interact. The good thing is we can do something about falls.
Well, let me ask you, is there a place where people could get like a booklet or some, handy guides of, environmental protection in your home? There is?
There are some very good sources.
Great.
One is the Centers for Disease Control. Has a lot of good booklets on their website. And also we have a website, www.stopfalls.org, where we have a lot of good information available for older people, for caregivers, for our family members, and for professionals as well.
Well, and this really is a place where a caregiver can do something proactively to minimize the risks that elderly people have. We have within the theatrical unions and the guilds and crafts home visitations now, where our retired folks are going to folks' homes and helping install grab bars and putting in the non-slip adhesive pads. It's a wonderful thing to do.
It is, and if somebody's aware of the environment, often they can do it themselves. There are some tasks that are difficult to do, like putting in a grab bar.
Yes.
You need somebody who's knowledgeable about it in terms of where you put it and what kind you put in there. But people who visit the homes should be aware of things that could cause problems.
Well, and for that alone, it is a wonderful teaching experience. And of course, it's something that, you know, a retired carpenter or bricklayer can actually do. You know, a person who's handy with their hands. Now, I have to ask this question. You've been in this field, fall prevention, for a long time. Did you decide during medical school that this is something that fascinates me?
Actually, I have a PhD in urban planning.
Really?
Urban planning. And what I studied was housing for older people.
Wow.
And sort of as a result of that, I got interested in the home environment and what it did to support independence and where it created problems.
Wow.
So moving on from that, modifying the homes and falls became a sort of a central piece of what I've been doing over the last 5 to 10 years.
Well, and as our population of elderly is so dramatically increasing, and we keep asking people to do your best to stay in your home, it becomes ever more important to have a safe environment.
Absolutely. Aging in place is the strongest preference.
And the cheapest.
And the cheapest,
Yeah.
correct, of almost all older people, and it increases as people get into their 80s and 90s. Mm-hmm. They would prefer to stay in their own homes. It's not always possible, but to sort of support them, we need to think about how the environment works and what changes to make.
Well, what about these universal home designs that I've seen? And there's much discussion about it, whether people should be compelled when they transfer title of property to have accessible homes. How does that work in a sophisticated and complicated housing market? Should we all be aware of that, of wheelchair access, for example?
There are two ways to think about it. Okay. One is modifying an existing home so it's much more accessible and safer. And I tell people who are baby boomers, who are remodeling their kitchens, their bathrooms, this is a good time to think about what we call universal design, which is design that works for everybody regardless of their age or their ability or their size. So if you're a baby boomer and you're remodeling your house and you're remodeling your bathroom, think about putting in non-slip tile.
Right.
Think about putting a walk-in shower instead of one that's difficult to get into. Think about the kind of lighting that you use, and think about putting in grab bars. It's an ideal time to think about it.
Exactly, of course, and it would be. And it doesn't add significantly if you're in the process of remodeling anyway. The cost will be about the same.
It adds almost nothing, and if you had to go back to modify it, it would be very costly.
That's where the cost comes.
So people need to think ahead.
I have twice struggled with the bathroom issues with elderly women. And a little embarrassing for them and very difficult for me because they would get stuck in the darn tub.
Yeah, can't get out.
Can't get out. And to the idea of an elderly person you care about in chilly water and sort of abandoned, why are we doing this to ourselves when some modifications will ease the problem?
So I designed a place for my father-in-law, Harry, who came to live with us when he had cancer, and he had Paget's disease that caused extra bone growth in his knee, so his gait was very uneven.
Yes.
I took a guest house in the back and made it in accord with the principles of universal design. So he had a walk-in shower. He had carpet that was glued to the floor that he couldn't slip on.
Yeah.
He had very good lighting. He never fell. He was so prone to falls. He never fell in this place for the 5 years that he lived with us.
Wow.
And he was able to operate more or less independently in terms of doing tasks and personal tasks. In a conventional dwelling unit, he would have had a lot of trouble and be at very high risk of falling.
But it's not just the home environment. With our seniors staying in the workforce ever longer, there are many modifications that need to take place in the corporate world, in the business world.
Absolutely.
Now, how do you teach somebody whose corporate mind is on the bottom line and say, wait a minute, 1/4 of your workforce in 10 years will be 60 and over?
There are people working on what to do in places of employment. And some of it is better lighting.
Yes.
Some of it is making sure there are clear pathways. Some is having good furniture that's supportive of people and their backs. Or ergonomic typing
Right,
boards.
that carpal tunnel syndrome.
Which is a sort of a runaway problem.
Yes, it is.
So you want to support your aging workforce, and honestly, those are some of our best employees with the best attendance records. But you want to make sure that the place works for them as well as it does. In fact, those changes work for everybody. So when we think of universal design, we don't think of something that's stigmatizing. It's not like things that come from a hospital or a nursing home. These are things that just fit into whatever environment, workplace or home.
Do you advise companies, like, for example, evacuation drills? I have lately come to understand that in a senior workforce you may have visual impairments, auditory impairment, balance issues.
Yes.
So, and that needs to be addressed.
Absolutely. People need to think ahead.
That's right.
Everybody needs to be able to get down a set of stairs. Or someone has to have a buddy to help them. Particularly people in wheelchairs are at risk.
Yes.
But everybody has trouble evacuating quickly. Practicing, making sure that there's lighting, making sure that the people who are incapacitated or disabled can get down as well is critical. Very critical issue.
People need to understand also the costs of falls to this country. We're talking billions of dollars.
Yes.
When you add up the costs. Now, are men more prone to a more serious injury than women?
Sometimes men, we take unnecessary risks showing that we can do things, whether it's climbing ladders or
getting up in the attic.
Lifting things that we shouldn't.
Yes.
So men tend to be bigger risk takers. Women tend to be a little more cautious, but women can fall too, and there are many more older women than there are men, just as a result of genetics and risk factors for life.
Right.
But falls should be everybody's business. Men, women, caregivers, family members, and young people too.
Well, and that little stool that we all sort of had in the kitchen, because there was that third shelf up there, was like, wait a second, go spend $15 at the Home Depot place and get a two-step ladder with handrails.
Absolutely.
So,
I was at a woman's home at the behest of her son, who had one of those round little step stools, and I asked her, with him there, to show me how she did various things in the house. She climbed up on that, was reaching above her refrigerator to try to get something. So I have a couple of suggestions related to that. One is move the things down that you use a lot to lower shelves or on the counters. Second is to do just what you suggested. Get one of those step stools that has a ladder-like thing to hold onto.
Exactly.
Do not use these old kind. They're not safe for anybody. Anybody can lose their balance.
Once again, I got to say thank you, Professor, so much for being here with us again. It's just wonderful that you can give this advice, and I tell people, listen, pay attention, because fall prevention is something you can do. Thank you again.
My pleasure, Paul. Always nice to be with you.
Thank you. It is always such a pleasure to visit with Dr. Painus. But now, it's time for our feature on aging in LA, Senior Stat Shots, where we look at statistics or information that pertains to senior citizens. Let's look at some statistics from 2006 that show the impact of falling. Seniors in 2006, well, now there were 37 million seniors in the United States. Seniors who had falling accidents totaled 11 million. That's 30% of the senior population. And 1.6 million were treated in emergency rooms. Now, speaking of emergency rooms, the average cost of a call is $20,000. The total cost in 2006 for falls of seniors was $20.2 billion. That's billion. And it is estimated that by the year 2020, the total cost of falls will be $44 billion, more than twice the amount spent today on treating injuries from falls. Here's some more stats relating to falls. At least 30% of seniors will have one serious fall per year. 20 to 30% of falls result in life-altering injuries. 70% of falls occur at home. And 40% of admissions to nursing homes are due to a fall. So please, please, be careful. And that's today's Senior Stat Shot. The Los Angeles Department of Aging produces this program with CityView, Channel 35, so that seniors living in Los Angeles and surrounding communities are well informed on the many issues that face them in everyday life, and also to let you know of the many services that the Department of Aging offers our senior citizens. And we'd like to hear from you with comments on the program, what you like, what you think can be improved, and ideas for future programs. So please give us a call. The number's right there on your screen, area code 213-252-4088. That's 213-252-4088. Please call us with your comments and your ideas. We look forward to hearing from you. I'm Paul Peterson. For the Los Angeles Department of Aging, the people here at CityView, Channel 35, and all of our guests on Aging in LA, thanks so much for watching. See you next time.